All right, we are back. And if you're watching the market, the bull run is on. I don't think there's much doubt about it at this point. Everything is ripping in the crypto market. First thing I want you to do as you watch this video, take action. If you haven't already, sign up for Coinbase, sign up for Binance, hit the subscribe button. The bull run is in its first inning. You need a way to access crypto, and those are your best bets right now. Easiest way to onboard Coinbase and Binance, I would say, for you guys out there. If you're watching the market, if you're watching the news, crypto is starting to take over the mind share. And, I want to share really my number one pick today. And it's been a thesis I've held for years, and it's starting to come to fruition. Infrastructure. You guys, when there's a gold rush, buy the shovels. You can try to go buy some land in a gold rush and, fingers crossed that land maybe has some gold on it. Okay, you might do well. You might even, get rich off of that. But you know who's inevitably going to make money in a gold rush? The person selling the shovels, because everyone needs shovels in a gold rush. That's the pick I'm going to talk about today. And I'm going to keep telling you about this because I've been in on this project for years, you guys. I know the ins and outs. I've probably forgotten more at this point than I remember. So I want to go ahead and share my screen with you. And I want to share these posts on X from Tom. I don't know how you say his last name. Shach. I'm not exactly sure. And if you see his title there, Chief Innovation Officer at Swift. Swift is a banking conglomerate of about 11,000 banks. In some sense, this is the original decentralized network. And Tom has some really interesting statements, and Tom is a big believer in the same thesis that I have. And I think if you dig into a lot of people that are into banking, in the financial institutions, they feel the same way. Let's take a look at this. So I'm going to just read parts of this with you. Swift was the original DeFi. What is DeFi? It's decentralized finance. It's financial products where you don't have some central entity like a bank acting as a trusted third party. You have mathematical guarantees backing financial transactions. This is where the world is going. Again, I'll say the zeitgeist of the world is that we have lost trust in our institutions, even including banks. If you pay attention to the news over the years, you can see where banks have frozen people's ability to use their money. That has occurred very, very recently. Even in the United States, it has happened. So he gets into talking about Swift here, and it's a network connecting thousands of banks. They send not only value, i.e. capital, they send messaging. And this is a big part of my thesis, is that you need to have some piece of infrastructure that not only connects capital from one blockchain to another, because each blockchain, like Ethereum, like Solana, all these other things that people are going to shill to you, they're isolated pools of liquidity. And that's not great for financial instruments. You want to have access to the largest pools of liquidity. So if you can connect those blockchains together via some absolutely secure infrastructure, a so-called cross-chain interoperability protocol, also known as CCIP, this is the play. And every time value and messaging flows through that network is going to basically take a fee, because that requires security guarantees. Okay. Let's see, going all the way down here, you can read this on your own, certainly. There's rules, there's coordination. This operates across nation state lines, etc. And the neutrality and governance were its power, right? It allowed trillions to move across the network every single day. Now, this is a really nice high-level view, right? I'm a high-level thinker, meaning I'm not down in the weeds. I'm not a developer. I don't know about all those little details. I think about things really from a bird's eye view. And this is a great take. Bitcoin showed the world something different, a way to move value without intermediaries, purely peer-to-peer. You don't have any kind of bank in the middle of all that. You don't need a bank to access your funds. If you have your private key, you can send those tokens to anywhere else in the world. Nobody can stop you. That is extraordinarily powerful in today's world. I invite you to go and find some stories in the past where all sorts of entities, from regular citizens, overseas citizens, government officials, all the way up to presidents not being able to transact because of political issues. Okay, it didn't need a bank. Let's go on to the next little bits here. Let me scroll down. Ethereum. Now, Ethereum comes along, and Ethereum is the next big player. It's the number 2 in the market cap of crypto, and lots of people are calling for ETH to go to $20,000 per token. I think it's, we're like at 2,500 right now. The last all-time high was somewhere in the neighborhood of 4,000. Ethereum built on the idea of Bitcoin, right? And you can look up Vitalik Buterin. He's basically one of the boy geniuses who's behind building the Ethereum network. And now you introduce smart contracts. So Bitcoin is very, very secure, but you can't really do a lot on it. It's kind of some people call it a pet rock. It's kind of funny, but it's very much like gold. You can't really do much with it. Ethereum allows not only value to be to transfer, but instructions and calculations, operations, right? And these operations, the execution of them occur on the network, on the Ethereum blockchain, right? Settlement happens natively on chain as well. So this adds some flexibility to the blockchain. You can do a bit more. Going into the weeds, there's a little bit different security backing. Bitcoin is secured by what's so-called proof of work. Ethereum in its early days was also proof of work and has moved to a so-called proof of stake. I mentioned this in another video. This is one way you can actually earn some passive income. If you own ETH, you can lend your ETH out to basically what's called a staking pool. You can pool your amount of ETH with other people, and together that will allow you to validate the blockchain. And when you validate the blockchain, effectively, you can earn passive ETH. Now, obviously, the more ETH you have, the more passive income you're going to get. So there's some caveats there, but at least you're not just trying to speculate on token price, right? If you're buying ETH, there's other ways that you can get revenue from this. Okay, so it says Ethereum also proved programmability and could scale, and they had a lot of issues with this. If you want to run the world's finances on a blockchain, you need to be able to process a lot of transactions in short order and do it securely. And that took a long, long time. That was one of the reasons for moving really from proof of work to proof of stake. It also cut down on the usage of energy, maybe like 99%. Bitcoin does use a lot of energy. So institutions need programmability to compete in a 24/7 digital economy. Again, go to the news. You can see that the DTCC, the entity behind the whole entire stock market, is trying to push for trading to happen effectively 24/7, right? Why is it that you can't trade stocks, at midnight? Why does the stock market close? It doesn't seem to make sense in today's world where we have an internet that is operating all day long. We're moving towards that. And we're also moving towards when you make trades, the settlement of that trade is going to occur much more quickly. That's another big piece of the puzzle that blockchain solves. You can do this much more quickly. That time lag from the trade to the actual settlement of the trade, right? That time lag actually introduced effectively some risk. And that risk needs to be priced into that financial decision. So here's kind of the kicker. Now, Swift isn't changing who it is. It's continuing what it has always done, provide a trusted, neutral, and governed layer that lets new innovations. The new innovation is the key infrastructure player that I want to talk about here. And okay, Swift once again is in the middle of all of this. Some people shilling some certain crypto to you are trying to say Swift is going away. No. Here's again the high level view. When crypto came out, there's a whole philosophy behind this cypherpunk philosophy with the notion that we're going to get rid of banks. That's kind of maybe one lemma you might say associated with this, that banks are going to go away. We don't need them. Well, you guys, that was a naive sort of adolescent take. The real take, as far as I'm concerned, and it's borne out now. We can quite see this. Banks are just going to adopt this as well. They're going to use this technology as well. So there'll be a mixture. There's going to be a mixture of financial rails, ways to move capital where you don't need the banks, i.e. Bitcoin. And there will be the banks also using blockchains in a variety of ways to also move capital, move messaging, do all sorts of new financial contracts. That's what's going to happen. Okay, let me lay it on you guys. Here's the ticker, Link, Chainlink. This is the infrastructure play. You can find Chainlink on Coinbase for sure. I've been following Chainlink for, I don't know, at least, really since 2019, just before their so-called mainnet dropped. Now, Chainlink is not a blockchain. It's not its own blockchain at all. What you can do is you can think about it like this. Each blockchain, like Ethereum, Solana, AVAX, Ondo, all these individual blockchains, of which there are many, many, and there's going to be many, many more. It's clearly going to be a multi-chain world. How do you connect capital and messaging from one chain to another? That is an extremely difficult problem to solve. This is inherent in what's called the oracle problem. The oracle problem with blockchains and basic financial instruments has to do with pricing. Remember that a blockchain is this very secured walled garden. So the security features are such that you actually can't really interact with the outside world. That's part of why it is so secure. So if you want to create these financial instruments, like let's say you and I, we want to make a bet on the future price of oil. This is a common derivatives bet. We want to make that bet, okay? Maybe we want to bet in November the price of a barrel of oil is going to be $100, or rather, let's change it. I'll bet that it's going to be over $100. You're going to bet that it's under $100. When November 1st comes around, and by the way, we take a pool of money, we take $10,000, we put it in a pool, right? We put it in a smart contract effectively, right? So it's locked up in the smart contract. When November 1st comes around, how is that smart contract going to know the actual real world price of the oil to determine where does the capital flow? Does it go to my wallet? Does it go to your wallet? It needs to know the price, and moreover, that pricing mechanism, that is an attack vector. Maybe you want to game the system. You go to the market, whoever's running the pricing structure of the market, and you tell them, hey, I'm going to give you $5,000 if you can game the price of oil a bit, because it's going to allow me to win $10,000. I'm going to cut you in on it. Now, obviously, it's a very simple example, but that is the idea. There's an attack vector. This is called the oracle problem. How do you solve it? Chainlink has solved it. I'm spinning my head to think where to even begin with all this. There's so much. It's hard to convey all the knowledge over so many years about this. And I'm gonna go into this over many videos as we go into Q3 and Q4 here. Let me just say a few things here. I'm not going to get into the technical details today, but part of the token, the Link token, is necessary in this securing of value. So you always want to ask when you buy a crypto token, like, what's the point of this token? Is it just a meme token? Is it effectively a piece of art? So, or is it inherent in the structure and the running of this particular protocol? Like Ethereum, the ETH token is necessary. It's necessary to actually cause the calculations to happen effectively. The Link token is very much like that to secure the so-called Chainlink network, which allows both value and messaging to go from one blockchain to another, and from the real world, from banking financial institutions to blockchains as well. They also have, in fact, worked specifically with Swift on their back end so that all their employees don't have to learn blockchain technology. They created an interface, and they've been doing this for years now, that Swift and all the banks therein can use their infrastructure that they already have to participate in all this blockchain technology. They effectively embedded themselves in every little niche part of the financial markets, that it is a necessary piece of infrastructure. And there's nobody else that comes close to doing this, that solving this. I'm just going to call it the oracle problem. It's a whole lot of features that they use. It's a monopoly, you guys. You want to buy a monopoly. There's nothing else like this. These are the shovels for the gold rush, and it's a monopoly. Basically, there's a few other people selling shovels, but they're rusty and they're shitty, basically. Chainlink is the player. The chief innovation officer, I think innovation officer is his title, his name is Ari Jules. He was a former professor at Cornell. He, in fact, worked on the original proof of work protocol, which secures Bitcoin. You can look up his H index, which is kind of an index of, it's like a nerd index for for academics. It basically means the higher H index, the more people are referencing your papers, and his H index is through the roof. He is a genius in cryptography. So he's been kind of on the back end working for years. They have a whole host of people on the back end from other protocols in the past. There's a guy that worked on Wrap Bitcoin. He's now part of this protocol, and that's essential in kind of the features of cross-chain, moving again capital and messaging from one chain to another. So that's the play, you guys. You want to buy infrastructure. So I'm just giving you the tip of the iceberg. You know, I've thought about this for so long, honestly, for the past 2 years. We've all been just waiting. There's a host of us out there that have seen this. We know that it's coming, and it seems like it's finally time where Chainlink is sort of going to show its true strength and what it truly is. They've been working with banks. They've been working with regulators. There was just the meeting at the White House, and if you go and watch a video online, you will see Sergey Nazarov, who's the founder of Chainlink. He was invited, talking with the president and also giving a little talk afterwards. Chainlink is a major, major player. And the funny thing is, if you go and see all these influencers on x.com or whatever, they're all shilling their own specific thing, you know. And I'm telling you, you want to buy infrastructure. So my head's spinning a little bit right now. It's Friday. I've had a long, long week. My throat's a little sore. I think I'm a little sick. But I hope you guys find this video out there wherever you are. And please hit the subscribe button. I'm going to tell you more about Chainlink through the future. And let's watch this market rip, you guys. It's going to be a fun Q3 and Q4. Take care.